What's going on, Star Wars fans?
Hello there.
We are back live. It's me and Nick right now. Derek is actually in California at the NOM convention, so he's doing the music thing. And Mike and Brandon will be here shortly. So jump on in and load up your comments. So we're going to talk some Star Wars. What's up, Jacob? Thanks for joining us. Max
Jacob.
Rebo, how are you? How are you?
Max Rebo missed you last weekend or last week. No, he was here. Never mind. It was the week before. Yeah. Maybe he was on and off.
Jessica's here.
Hey, Mom. What's up? If you guys haven't seen, Jacob in the chat hopped on the live to discuss comics last week. So I encourage you to go check it out. There's some good ones out. Can we talk about that one? I haven't read it. Have you read it yet?
Which the one from
the one we didn't want to spoil?
Yeah. What's up, Jarvo? Thanks for jumping on. Papa Boz. Appreciate y'all. What did you want to have you
maybe later you could give a synopsis, because as Papa Boz says, we have some big news today. So
yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, it's we're gonna get to that. Mike and our special guest hosts are gonna join us in a little bit here. They're running a little bit late, so we're gonna start this off with something cool today. I actually have you guys know, I'm sure you've seen a few of these characters along with a C3PO character that Mr. Chris Bartlett does.
Put that up on the big screen.
Yeah, there we go. So we've actually had him on the podcast, and I was chatting with him the other day, and it's hey Lane. So
hey, Dad.
it was cool to just chat with him a little bit, but he says it's really cool that you text me, because I have this thing going on. And I was like, he's got, obviously I think he's been busy, but there's a bunch of NDA stuff that he can't talk about, I'm sure. Hopefully he's been in a bunch of stuff that we'll be watching in the this year coming up. But he texted me this picture and I thought it was pretty cool. So
repping.
He's repping one of our shirts, which I thought was pretty neat. He texted me that picture and said, "Funny enough that you text me today." So great human being. If you haven't checked it out, you need to go check Chris's interview out. We are going to have him on here again, because when we had him on, it was actually the time where they had it was the strike, so he really couldn't talk too much about a lot of things. He couldn't say a lot of names, which was sort of funny. He would point to some of the characters behind him. He might be, that white guy right there, or something like that. He had a Boba Fett thing and a C3PO, like mask and stuff, which was really cool. But great conversation, great human being. It's just, we had three different parts. So it's I think they're like a half an hour each, or 20 minutes or so each. It was a little bit longer than usual, which was fantastic. But we're going to get him on here again. So, but we got some really cool news. Everybody I'm sure knows about it. The Maul trailer is dropping tomorrow. We are going to get into that. There was some other cool things that I thought were interesting that popped up. I know Mike had spoken about Tom Hardy wanting to be in Star Wars, which I thought was pretty interesting. I think he would be a cool bad guy.
Yeah.
So would see what happens with him, and see if I don't know if it'll come to fruition. Obviously, there's a bunch of stuff going on right now. What's going on, Nathan? But I think it would be cool to have somebody like him in there, especially again, sort of like he did with the Bane thing, putting a mask on.
Yeah,
he could do like a Darth Revan thing, or what's the other one? Is it Malice?
Well, not to interrupt you.
Oh, go ahead.
Technically, Tom Hardy already was in Star Wars,
but it wasn't. It was cut.
Wasn't he a stormtrooper extra?
It was cut, yes, but
really?
His part was cut. Yeah, that's what Mike was talking about, which I thought so too, because there's a bunch of different, like, isn't like Jason Sudeikis or whatever?
hold on.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure he's the one who spanks Finn in the elevator.
Yeah, but it's a deleted scene.
I thought that's in the movie.
No. No. Well, at least not.
I'm almost 100% sure that's in the
Okay.
movie. Can
All
anyone
right.
else help me with that?
Okay.
Because he recognizes FN 2187 and he's like,
Okay.
"Oh," and gives him a little spank like climbing the ranks. And I
Okay.
think that's Tom Hardy. The
Okay.
same way that Daniel Craig is the
Right. He's the
in
one that,
Force
yeah.
Awakens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That Ray tells him to drop and he walks away. The
But
scout
yeah,
trooper. Yeah. Sudeikis
what you
was,
were saying about Jason Sudeikis.
yeah. Which,
Yep. Oh, so it is a deleted scene.
yeah.
Man.
And that's not, that was from Mike yesterday.
Oh, okay.
So he
Got it.
had that on, and he had in his whole short, which was really cool. Or no, actually, it was part of the podcast yesterday, right? Yesterday was Tuesday.
Part of the
Yes.
stream yesterday. Yeah.
Mhm.
Shoot. And we have the Last Jedi King in the chat, Austin Fuller, telling me. Sorry,
Nice.
guys. I was 100% sure he was the stormtrooper though.
Yes, I knew that. Yeah, James Bond. Yeah,
I got to be careful about all these claims I make on here.
you do because
People are coming
there's
after me out there.
uh huh uh
My bad,
huh.
guys.
But I think there was a lot of stuff, and I know we talked about some of this last week, and we'll touch on that now. I think again when Kathleen Kennedy, you know, switched over and dropped the reins, and Dave picked him up. There was a lot of things that were dropped that hopefully we'll get to see, in the near future here, not near future, but enough where like the Ben Solo thing is probably going to come to fruition. I would guess. They were talking about Disney's CEO will be announced possibly next month, which
Mhm.
would be crazy because now you have two brand new presidents in one of the biggest companies. I don't know, maybe not. Maybe it's not one of the biggest companies in the world, but one
Oh,
of the
for
best
sure.
known,
It's one of
one
the
of the
top.
best known companies in the world. Being Disney and Lucasfilm are getting three brand new presidents uh, in the first part of 2026. Which right now we're already in, you know, go mode for 2026 for everything that's coming out. What's going on, Darth Plagueis Lives? Thanks for joining us. But yeah, I think that it'll be good stuff coming out. I think that Dave's going to continue to just, do that great creative part that he does. And hopefully this guy that takes over the CEO spot in Disney will be a good spot. And he'll, maybe it's the parks, like Derek said. I'm not sure what his name is, but that would be a great spot where we could start to see more of this Star Wars stuff come to fruition.
Mhm.
But I think again, there's a lot of people that are still going to hate on a bunch of this stuff, no matter what happens, unfortunately. But here we want to see whatever they're going to give us, give us.
Yeah.
Maul, Ahsoka, Mandalorian, and Grogu.
And on that front, we were texting today that we got an announcement from Star Wars itself that we have a Maul Shadow Lord trailer coming out tomorrow. And I think a few of us mentioned, like, man, even getting a warning seems like a big deal. We usually don't get, that big of a warning about a trailer. We usually have weeks of rumored dates that a trailer is going to happen, and then it just happens on a random day. Um, so I'm
Yeah,
excited that they're pushing it that way, you know, kind of teeing it up for real. Um, Especially since we've gotten pretty much nothing about it that official,
yeah.
other than that it exists. So I'm excited to see. Like, let me ask you: do you think a release date will coincide with the trailer?
I'm
I
hoping
think it
so.
has to.
I think so too, especially because we're already most of the way through January,
Hmm.
and I think that it's gonna. I think those 5 comic issues. I think they're gonna come out weekly. I don't think that they'll. I'm almost positive they're not gonna do monthly. I
Hmm.
don't think they'll all drop at once, which I think would be great because I'll just sit and read all 5 of them that day. But I also think that they have to coincide with when Maul's going to come out, And I think Maul has to come out in March because I don't think they want an overlap into Mandalorian and Grogu.
Mhm.
And if we're going to get 12 or 16 weeks, it's going to be tough to, not go over Mandalorian and Grogu if we start later than March.
Yeah.
April or May. I mean, May we're already into. That's when we're getting Mandalorian and Grogu. So my thinking, if they're not going to overlap, which maybe they will, but I don't think that they would want to do that. I think they want to, have some time for us to, digest Maul, figure out what's going on. Maybe we'll come in. Maybe there'll be a couple episodes after Mandalorian and Grogu come out. I don't know. That could very possibly happen as well, but I think that it's not. I don't think it's going to be later in the year because I just saw something today or yesterday. Again, on all the Star Wars stuff that I watched, that now Maul might get pushed back until later in the year to try to
Hmm.
fill some gaps. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. No, I thought it was going to be Maul, Mandalorian, and Grogu, and then Ahsoka. So it'll be interesting to see what that says. What's Max say here? The comic book store I get comics from says series has been ordered by the month. That's insane. Because again, even if it comes out even if we drop one in February, you got February, March, April, May, June, and then you're going to have Maul.
Could it run alongside it at some point? Do we know like what it spans?
Supposedly, it's supposed to bring us, I think, right up to where this is going to start. Like, give us a little bit of background to this, if anybody
Right.
knows.
Yeah, I think that kind of reopens a couple weeks ago when we had all of our questions about Shadow Lord, did like a deep dive.
Yeah.
Kind of puts into question some of our predictions of how long we think it's going to be. And, are they going to have a series of episodes and then like a mid-season break and then keep going? How it's going to run along the comic series, all those things. And I don't know, like Nathan made a good point. Let's see. So why would they put a teaser out now if it was later in the year? For an animated show, I don't know. For live action stuff, I totally get it. We can get into this later when the other guys are here, but like I'm actually still shocked at the very little marketing for Mandalorian and Grogu, and we're at the end of January,
Yeah.
So that's surprising to me. To drop a trailer with a lot of runway to an animated series would also be surprising to me in the opposite way, So I think, I don't know. Do you think it changes your guess on how long it's going to go?
If it's going to be monthly, absolutely.
Yeah.
And Jacob said the same thing. A lot of the times that, the Star Wars, they come out monthly, which I didn't know that, but I find it hard to believe if we think we're going to get or this Maul first, then Mandalorian and Grogu and Ahsoka, and they're saying that they're going to drop the comics beforehand to sort of bring us up to it. And if it's going to be monthly, like I said, even if it drops in March,
Mhm.
it's going to be rough. So I'm waiting for Mike to get on. I can't.
Yeah, we have a new one.
Da-da-da-da.
Our first catch of the day.
Oh, there it is.
There
Okay.
he is.
There he goes. Catching up.
Well, I'm here because I was listening to the podcast. I'm actually still eating dinner. Oh, it's right here. I almost just dropped it on the
Nice.
floor. So
Don't do that.
I had to chime in, and I will still be eating, so chat, deal with it. I had to chime in because I come bearing gifts, let's say.
Oh,
You guys are talking about this and how I guess doom and gloom it is, the fact that this prequel comic will probably run monthly, which it probably will. So shout out to Max Rebo for being the killer of fun. But I'm here to bring back fun, So here's the idea that I have, and it was brought to me from somebody who actually messaged me on X, formerly known as Twitter. And the idea is the Bad Batch Season 3 trailer dropped on January 22nd. The Bad Batch Season 3 aired on February 21st, 1 month later. So we're getting a trailer tomorrow on January 22nd, and the idea is that the premiere of Maul Shadow Lord will be February 24th, that Tuesday of February, the same Tuesday. Now, this works for multiple reasons. One, they never said that this comic series, although it is a prequel, has to come out before the show. The series itself might actually set up the comic by you're 5 years after Clone Wars. Well, what happened in those 5 years? How did Maul get here? And that might be what the comic is about. Also, the February 24th release date, if it's a 2-episode premiere, would, if it's 15 episodes, like The Bad Batch was, it would put you directly to May 19th. 3 days. The finale would be 3 days before the release of The Mandalorian and Grogu. So to me, I think we are on a very, very similar timeline as the Bad Batch season 3, because the first trailer for that dropped on January 22nd and the premiere was February 21st. So as Nick said right before I got on here, they would never give us a trailer for an animated show and then make us wait 8 months for it. It just wouldn't happen. It's not what they do. So yeah, hopefully that, lightens the mood a little bit.
I guess I was mistaken. I thought that the comic book was supposed to bring us up to this point where the Maul series is starting. So it was like to give us a little preview of it. So now that you're saying that makes more sense, that we might get a few that drop each month, or we'll get one that drops each month instead of everything that's going to come up before this Maul series starts.
I think your line of thinking still works though, Ron, because each issue could be, like Mike said, set up by, whatever situations you're put in that each batch of episodes,
right,
and kind of inform each other as they come out. I think obviously the more important release for information is probably the show. So I feel like the comic, as most of them do, will help fill really cool gaps, and we'll get the meat of it from the show, but good work, Mike.
Well, we just got Legacy of Vader. Like, Legacy of Vader is a prequel to Rise of Skywalker. It came out 7 years after the Rise of Skywalker. It never was written in stone that this prequel comic series has to come out before the show, just because it's a prequel. Just like the original trilogy came out before the prequels. So Star Wars usually works that way, seemingly. But I agree. I think something in the show will be a catalyst to what is being explored and explained in the comics, because it is 5 years later. So, or is it 1 year or 5 years? Maybe 1 year. Either way.
I think who was it? Somebody said 1 year in here.
I think it's 1 year, yeah.
Yeah, Peak Obi-Wan said it's a year after he escaped Ahsoka.
So 1 year still is a substantial amount of time. We see Maul flying away from Ahsoka, and away. I'll shut up. Introduce this guy over here, this handsome fella.
What's up, everybody?
How are you, Brandon?
How's it going? Sorry, I'm fashionably late. Hopefully,
no,
absolutely. Hey, I was also fashionably late.
Mike's still eating.
Doing?
I'm still eating.
He was listening and had to jump in because he was like, okay, wait a minute. I gotta say some stuff. But if you guys haven't already, please go check out our interview, actually with both of you guys, actually all three of you guys. There's interviews online with all three of these awesome Star Wars fanatics. So, but most recently we have talked to Brandon from Clan Brandalorian, who also has a podcast on Sundays at 11 a.m. Correct?
Yep, the live streams at live every Sunday at 11 a.m. Central Standard Time.
Awesome.
Nice.
So I know we've all seen it, but now that all of us are here, we're going to watch this just one more time. All right, hands up. Who got the bills?
It's so good.
It's going to be incredible for us to talk about this in the next month or so.
it's just genius because it shows him cut in half at one point. It shows him versus Obi-Wan. So it's showing before this series and after this series. And obviously this is the in-between, but how he got there. You could have done anything. You could have literally just posted words, Maul Shadow Lord trailer comes out tomorrow, and we would have been fine. But that was like ridiculously hype for no reason. And it makes me optimistic that the trailer is going to be just as hype as that little teaser we got. And maybe the trailer is completely like that, which I don't think it will be, but that'd be crazy.
Yeah. I would say, Nathan, the voice it's got to be Sam. It's Maul's laugh as Sam, or Sam's laugh as Maul.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think them dropping that, like that, you're right, Mike. They could have just been like, okay, tomorrow we're dropping a trailer for Maul Shadow Lord. But for them to come out and just do it like that and not have anything really substantial on screen until the end when you see, his face come into fruition and it's just all right there. It's just such a great job that they did, which I think is just going to roll over into what's coming, tomorrow. Hopefully we'll get enough to, for everybody to be satisfied with that and happy. And like you were saying, and then in a month from now, we get the series.
Yeah. And even if we don't get anything more stylistically like that style is like, I don't know how to describe it. It's so Maul, like if that's even just the intro infographic before the episodes, it sets a perfect tone. And I don't even know what the show's about. And I think it sets perfect.
Oh yeah. I didn't even think of that. It could be like the intro song. Like it's just that sort of an intro. That would be awesome.
But like Jacob says, it's an edited version of Duel. It's just that, and it's like, and then they stop, and then it comes back again. It's so cool how they did that.
Playing Duel of the Fates is interesting too, because as much as I love that song, it's played throughout the prequels in very interesting points in Anakin's story specifically.
Mm-hmm.
So you almost attach that song more so to Anakin, even though he's not even in that fight. He's a child doing something else. But he's not even involved in that fight. And you attach it to more so Obi-Wan and Anakin than Maul. But Maul was the guy in that fight. So it is his and
that was his first appearance in fighting.
Second,
I guess a little bit, second, because he did a little bit with Qui-Gon, but you wait until when he comes out and just does that double blade, it's just insane.
I think to most, especially like casual fans, like that song is synonymous with him. Because we see it as like, it also comes up when Anakin's going to find his mom. It also comes up when Anakin, Obi-Wan, and Palpatine Yoda are fighting. But like, how many just like normal fans of Star Wars picture Darth Maul igniting both sabers to that, song, or just like the doors opening up? That's how second I hear it, that's what I see. It's a big ass hood that Ray Park said was really heavy.
I watched and we can get into this in a little bit, but some of these freaking AI little 8-minute movies are incredible. And I watched one today that was the scene when Maul shows up on Tatooine with Obi-Wan, and it's him and Alec Guinness. It's so cool to watch that, and it's pretty much, I'm guessing what they're doing is taking Rebels or Clone Wars or whatever and throwing it into AI and saying, make this a live action, because a lot of the ones that I was watching today were that, it's just the repetition, but it's turned into the live action, and they're just so good. I mean, some of them are a little bit weirdo, or their mouths are just like opening really, to try to get words and stuff, which looks funny, but it's just still cool to see, like today, for me to see Alec Guinness like that on Tatooine with Maul, that was really cool. So I'm really looking forward to this. And like you, Mike, Maul has been, when he came out, that was, I think, my second or third Star Wars tattoo was Maul.
Really?
Nice. Yoda was my first. Nice. But Maul is just, when he came out, it was like the Boba Fett. He was there and then he was gone, and fans just went crazy for him. And I think this is going to show all of us and even the normie fans what Dave has been able to do with this character.
Yeah.
Brandon, say something.
Dude, I was gonna say, I don't know where you guys started at, but do you guys have this weird feeling that this might just release next week? Do you feel like it's kind of like here
Yeah.
it is, it's happening?
So I kind of said something similar because I was listening in on before and I wasn't going to tune in for a couple more minutes because I was eating. But they were talking about how it might not come out until later on in the year because of the comics series is supposed to be a prequel and everything. And I am right there with you. I think they're going to release this trailer and it will release probably this time next month. Just like the Bad Batch Season 3 I brought up. The Bad Batch Season 3 trailer released on January 22nd and the premiere was February 21st, less than a month later. So I think they might do the same thing.
Yeah, I remember that too. Plus, with Funko leaks, spoilers, apparently the Maul Shadow Lord line is going to be on shelves late February. So usually
There
when
you
Funko
go.
comes out with stuff, it's usually a month after the show's over. But if they're already going into retail stores and it's not even out yet, I think this could be a thing like within the next week or two. But I mean, it's probably going to be another month, like Mike said.
Yeah, I think it's a lot sooner rather than later, though.
Yeah.
Yeah. I got to highlight this from my dad, just since we're talking about Maul. This did happen. I took my Maul action figure to church when I was a kid, and priest wasn't having it.
Get that out of here.
Yeah.
That's pretty funny.
But yeah, I agree with you guys. I think I'm on board with a month from now it dropping, but Brandon, I do think they have a little bit different energy nowadays with releasing stuff, and I don't know if they would do it as fast as they do Tales, because like as soon as they advertise Tales exists, it's out, right?
Yep.
Or it comes out next week. I don't know if they'd do it that fast, but I feel like I wouldn't be surprised if it was earlier than a month from now.
Yeah.
And they got a lot going on this year, so they might be ready to just hit the ground running. So,
yeah, that's what you got to think about too. Is if this is a 15-episode show, it's got to run for at least 12 weeks,
right?
And that leads you directly to the Mandalorian and Grogu, which has to be in theaters for at least probably 40 days, or maybe even 60 days, or who knows, maybe even 90 days, and that'll lead you directly into the fall, where we're gonna get 8 weeks of Ahsoka. So there's only 52 weeks in the year. Like there's only so much time we can get new episodes every single Wednesday or Tuesday or Friday, whatever the hell it is anymore.
Yeah. And I don't think there's ever been a time, well, and maybe, and again, you guys can tell me if I'm wrong. Have we had overlaps before in the Star Wars stuff?
Yeah.
Bad Batch.
We actually had season 1 of Mandalorian overlap with Rise of Skywalker.
Rise of Skywalker, yeah.
Okay.
But no, Brandon said it too. The Bad Batch overlapped with Mando season 3.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, it was kind of like rough. Like, which am I going to put all my focus into?
Yeah.
But Bad Batch was good too.
That was a weird thing too. Like, Mando season 3 was the step back season that people were crapping on because it wasn't as good as season 2. And what was funny about it was, I think the best episode came out, and people were like, "Okay, Mando is kind of being not so great, and Bad Batch is kind of being pretty good. So what do I watch first?" And then I forget what episode it was, but it was like the best Mando season 3 episode came out on the same day as the best Bad Batch season 2. I was like, this is the greatest day ever. But yeah, I don't understand that. Like, there's 52 weeks in the year. It's plenty of time. They didn't have to overlap those two because there was like a 3-month gap before Ahsoka that year. So they could have just pushed Mando back a couple weeks and didn't have to do that. But I don't know. I don't know what the stats they're looking at over there are to make them want to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it'll be interesting because those are the 3 big things that we have. And now with this whole change, we were talking a little bit about the Kathleen Kennedy and Dave, switching and like you were talking about.
We haven't even talked about that yet.
Yeah. And with Disney's CEO, maybe Bob stepping down next month, there's a lot of stuff that can be going on. And I heard you mention yesterday, I think, or maybe I read it somewhere else, that Rise might even start filming in April.
The Rey movie, you mean?
With the Rey movie, so if these 3 things are coming out, they can put this stuff out and say, okay, boom, because they're all 3 of these things are done. The 3 main things are already done. They're processed. They're ready to go. So you're still working. You're probably almost done with Starfighter. So everything else is going to start coming into fruition, or they're going to start filming these other things. Hopefully, we will get a Tales, maybe at some point later in this year, which I highly think that we will at some point. But you have enough stuff going on for them that all they got to do is push play, and they can go back to making hopefully the Ben movie, and Lando, and all these other things that are possibly coming out with all that stuff, and we don't get an overlap. And then again, for the 4 of us, it's going to be crazy year, because there's not going to be a week that goes by pretty much that we don't have some sort of new content coming out. Until Mandalorian and Grogu, you'll have, like you said, Mike, anywhere from 30 to 90 days where we can just talk about little things that we've seen and pick up, in the movie after we've all seen it in the theater 3 or 4 or 10 times, but it's going to continue on. And that this Maul series, every week is going to be a new series. We're going to go 12 to 15 weeks talking about that, then the Mandalorian, and then 8 more weeks so it's going to be a fun but busy year for content creators for Star Wars, for sure.
Yeah. And you brought it up, so I'll ask you guys this, because I asked whatever. We haven't talked since last Wednesday, so the big news was on Thursday night. Kathleen Kennedy out, Dave Filoni and Lin-Manuel Brennan in. So the question was, I suppose, because however people feel about Kathleen Kennedy is regardless, did they make the right decision? Because we've been talking about this for years. Kathleen Kennedy going down, and who's going to replace her? We've talked about it on this live stream a million times. Who is going to replace her? And we've always brought up Dave. We've always brought up people like Jon Favreau, outside people from outside Lucasfilm, and all these Carrie Beck and Lin-Manuel Brennan and all these other people. Did they make the right choice? So I guess that's my question to you 3 and the chat. Did they make the correct decision going co-presidents, and those 2 being Dave Filoni and Lin-Manuel Brennan?
Nick?
Yeah, I'm not familiar with Lin-Manuel Brennan.
Yeah.
I'll just state what I've stated on our record before, that I do think it's good for Dave Filoni to have more responsibility insofar as it's actually in his wheelhouse. And that's, I think we're all Dave Filoni lovers here. There's no disrespect to him, but dude's never made a movie before. So yeah. I would like somebody at that position that can take kind of that part of the gig off of his plate so that he can create Star Wars. You know what I'm saying? Like, the things that Kathleen Kennedy actually was really great, and if you go check out her filmography, is legendary at, are putting things together and producing them, which is very different than what we love about Dave. So again, I'm not familiar with Brennan's background. I haven't really gotten into it. I'm confident that the reason that it's a co-president thing is because of that dynamic. I don't know what kind of, for example, some of the news last week that we have Starfighter filming, this past fall with Tom Cruise on the set, grabbing a camera, filming it, Sean Levy doing this, Ryan Gosling doing that. I don't know if a guy like Dave Filoni has the network to make something like that happen, whereas Kathleen Kennedy absolutely does. And so I think it's important to have someone in there who maybe even is an outsider that just gets the work done so that Dave can do the creative thing, because that's his thing. And I think it is important in those upper levels to have someone who knows the thing really well, who can help with that process. So I'm sure that was their idea of having co-presidents, because I just think if he's both creative head and president, that's almost too much of a consolidation of power and too much that takes away from, what we love him for. So,
right.
True.
Yeah.
And before you two go on, I will say to that point too, Kathleen Kennedy is not disappearing. She's staying on to produce Star Wars movies.
Right.
So those connections that Kathleen Kennedy does have, they're still there. Like she's not
Mhm.
just leaving Dave out to dry.
Right.
Yeah.
I think sorry to I'll close with this. I do think for several years people kind of misinterpreted what Kathleen Kennedy's job actually is.
Oh,
She's not in there writing the script. She's not in there, creatively controlling things. She is greenlighting things. She is getting budgets. She is like producing a thing. That's a big deal. But all of the stuff that we're like concerned with as far as the content of Star Wars is the stuff that Dave's already doing. So having sole control of that seat, I don't think is necessarily in the interest of us if we want him doing his thing. So I'm glad that it's split.
Yeah.
It's a good point.
Yeah. Brandon, go ahead.
Mine's kind of short and sweet, kind of simple, but kind of to go off of Nick, it's understanding Kathleen Kennedy's track record. I mean, she's a legend. I mean, doing things, clear back in the 80s all the way up until now. I mean, George Lucas handpicked her himself to, take over. So that obviously that's a huge thing. And I think a lot of her haters don't realize that. They'd probably be like, oh, George would never do that. Like, why would he do that? But my thing is like, maybe she can be more at peace now. I mean, I remember when I first started my channel, I made a video and I was just talking about like, like everyone who hates Kathleen Kennedy, she's laughing at you in your little videos online while she's counting millions and she's the head of Lucasfilm. How cool is that?
Right.
But I think it's just kind of it. I mean, maybe it's time. Maybe it's time they shake it up a little bit. The one thing I was super concerned with, though, was also kind of like what Nick was saying, was that is this too much of a responsibility for Dave to take on? I was a little more so surprised that some people didn't like Ahsoka for what the writing and the direction it went, because I really enjoyed it. But at the same time, like that is like the number one thing for Dave, more so as a series. And that's his project, his character. So I was just like, oh, really? People think this way? So it's just like now those people are going to be like, oh, well, if he takes over, Star Wars is definitely cooked, whatever. Yeah. No matter, I feel like even if George Lucas came back, people would still be upset. So you're just not going to win with most of those people. And that's okay. That is just fine. But I think it's cool, man. I think the two-headed monster, you take Dave's CCO abilities that he's been doing for the last year and a half, 2 years now, which is crazy because I feel like that was just like news yesterday. And Lin-Wen Brennan, I mean, all of the skills that she has. And I also can't sit here and act like I know every single thing that goes on behind the scenes when they greenlight a script, when they, when the hunt for Ben Solo comes through, but, Kathleen likes it, but it gets sent to Disney and they're like, nah, what? Like, we're not doing it. So it's just like, I don't understand what's going on there and why this person would make sense here and there. But I think at the end of the day, with everything Kathleen Kennedy's done with Star Wars, I've liked 90% of it. So it's just more of a, congrats and do whatever's next, whether that's, Cancun for the rest of your life or still producing Star Wars like she's doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Ron?
We're all on the same page with this. I feel that Dave's going to do a good job. I think that being co-presidents will definitely help. And I think it was maybe Max in here that was talking about it takes the financial part away from Dave so he can concentrate on the creative part. I do think that Kathleen Kennedy got a bad rap because she was the president, so to speak. But again, people, like you were saying, Brandon, people have no idea sometimes that George Lucas handpicked her to take over Disney when he left. So she had a great track record. I think, and all four of us and probably everybody on this chat thinks that she did a great job for the most part in there. The prequels or, the sequels, it is what it is at this point. But as we get more information about this, if we get a Ben Solo thing, that's going to help me, with these, sequels, liking them a little bit more. But I think with Dave in control of creative, yeah, he hasn't done a movie yet, but he's done enough Star Wars stuff that he can hire and he can have enough people down below, to be like, okay, hire these top-notch directors and having John Favreau in your back pocket because you're best friends now. He's not going to do this by himself. He's going to make the decisions and stuff. But it takes a village. I'm sure we've all heard that before. And I think this is going to be a good village. I think Kathleen was part of a good village as well, and I think she'll continue to help the Star Wars community grow. But I think just like anything else, just like I'm sure we all watch. I know most of us watch football. As these coaches continue to go on, and they might have been great coaches, but if they get stale in there and maybe they just need a change, then that's what they're going to do with that team. And I think that's sort of a little bit of what's going on here, where you know what, it's time. She's been there for over a decade now. So Dave's there. He's got a little bit more of the knowledge. He's a little bit younger. So let's move him into that spot. I think John Favreau would have been a great addition as well. But I think we have all said, no matter what happens, somebody's not going to like something and they're going to blame Dave. If George was sitting there, like Brandon said, they're going to say, oh, well, George lost it. What did he do this for? But I think it's a good move. I think that maybe it wasn't the best, but I think it's a great move. I think that with his knowledge of Star Wars, Dave Filoni is going to bring us a lot of good Star Wars. And I forget if it was Brandon, but or Nick or maybe Mike. It's interesting because he doesn't have that pull behind him like a storyboard like Kathleen Kennedy or George Lucas or a Steven Spielberg that's like, all right, listen, I've been in this industry. This is what I've done. He's not going to be able to say, oh, you need to do this and that. Well, wait a minute, little Dave. You've only done a few little things here. But his knowledge of Star Wars, I think, is fantastic for the co-presidency.
Yeah. And I'll throw in there. Oh, good.
No, you go.
Well, it's about something you said, Mike. So I think the same principle applies to Kathleen Kennedy, dropping those responsibilities and just going back to what she apparently loves doing, which is producing movies. Like the same way that we're saying, I hope Dave is able to really embrace the creative side of that role and not the X's and O's. I think the same thing's happening for Kathleen Kennedy. Maybe she can just get back to, doing her thing, whether that's for Star Wars or for whatever. But, I would also put out there that, it's also going to be a responsibility of Dave's, like Kathleen Kennedy's, to like you said, hire people that can deliver these stories, much like in the original trilogy, George Lucas hiring Irvin Kershner, or these things that really made a huge difference in what we did or in what we got. And Kathleen Kennedy hiring Rian Johnson was a bona fide badass move. Rian Johnson made some very, very interesting movies up to that point. And it was like, we want to do something different. And this is the guy. And she stuck with him. And I think this Hunt for Ben Solo stuff kind of shed some light on how things, like Brandon said earlier, we don't know how it works in there. But like the fact that Kathleen Kennedy gave Adam Driver and is it Soderbergh? Soderbergh gave them like full backing, had it like was all in their corner, and then their bosses, changed the game. I feel like that's likely what happened with the sequel trilogy. Like they got spooked and said, "You got to go hire JJ back," like that sort of thing. Yeah. I think it sheds light on the fact that she is very empowering of the creatives and kind of trusts them, and if it doesn't land as expected, that happens. And then, corporate makes you, backpedal or whatever. And I think Dave being in that position gives him an opportunity to really back creatives that he can like immediately help. It's kind of like having Pablo Hidalgo in the building when you're like writing a story, say, hey, does this work? And he says, yep. But this is the guy who does the storyboard. So like, I think only good things if he can stay on that side of the ball.
Yeah. I mean, you all brought up exactly what I was thinking. You all brought up great points. I think to look at Dave, I mean, one thing that Nick was sort of alluding to there is Dave is going to have the side of the creator way more than the businessman. So like when he's fighting for something to happen, he's fighting for a show or a movie to be made. He's going to be thinking as a creative and as a fan who loves Star Wars. So he'll be fighting for the fan, which is great. And he's got probably number one on speed dial, George Lucas. So, I mean, that helps too. But how I feel about this, I was thinking about it for a long, long time. I can't think of a better option. I literally can't. Like, if you said, oh, we're going to do Jon Favreau just by himself, that wouldn't be better. Like, it wouldn't at all. And when you look at the backstory specifically, like Jon Favreau, he's great. Don't get me wrong. He started the MCU. He made the greatest Christmas movie of all time. Yeah, it's Elf. Get over it. He revived Star Wars for many Star Wars fans with The Mandalorian. He's great. He's only been with Star Wars for 6 years. Dave's been there for 20 plus, 21, 22, whatever it's been. So, and then Lin-Win Brennan. So I know you guys, we're all thinking it. Who the heck is that lady? So I actually pulled up the article that Lucasfilm placed. There's two very short and concise paragraphs, one for Filoni, one for Brennan. So I'll read them both, starting with Filoni. Filoni joined Lucasfilm in 2005, so 21 years ago, and has played a pivotal role in shaping the creative direction of the Star Wars universe. Working closely with George Lucas, Filoni was instrumental in establishing the company's animation studio and has since expanded the franchise into new and compelling territory. So he worked on the Clone Wars, Rebels, Mandalorian, and earned multiple Emmy nominations, and is currently the showrunner of Ahsoka, which is now in production for its second season. And he is teaming up with Jon Favreau on a feature film, The Mandalorian and Grogu. People kind of forget about that. He is the executive producer on that movie, so he has some movie experience now, which debuts May 22nd, 2026. So we've known that. Dave's been the guy. Sure. Brennan now. Lin-Win Brennan has been with Lucasfilm since 1999, beginning her tenure with Industrial Light and Magic, where she rose through the ranks and became the leader of ILM in 2009, after 10 years with the company. She was appointed general manager of Lucasfilm in 2015, so 6 years later, and president and general manager of Lucasfilm Business in 2024. That's a long title. During her tenure, she has guided the company through transformative technological shifts and a clear strategic vision, and is committed to innovation. And her industry leadership has been recognized with the Lifetime Achievement Award for the Visual Effects Society and the honor of Commander of the Most Excellent Order of the British Empire.
Wow.
Damn. So she knows ball then.
Yeah. So she's been with the company for 27 years. Since 1999, since the prequel trilogy. She was not only the leader of ILM, but then she was the general manager of Lucasfilm, and then the president and general manager of Lucasfilm Business. She's been around for a long, long time. She might not be the face of the company. She might not be whatever, but she's the one pulling the strings. And as we've all talked about, it's way better to have the co-president seat. When you look at like DC, how they did this recently with James Gunn and Peter Safran. Nobody knows. Okay, people kind of know who Peter Safran is. Either way, he's the business side of things. Everybody knows who James Gunn is. And still, people who are concerned that Dave Filoni's never going to make a Star Wars project again because he's the president. James Gunn wrote and directed Superman as he was the co-president of the company. So this has happened before. Dave's still going to get his movie. He's still making Ahsoka season 2. He's not going to stop making content. He's just going to be in charge of all the other content, and it'll be great.
Right.
So I think it's the perfect choice. I literally could not think of a better option. Couldn't. It's the perfect outcome for us Star Wars fans. We just don't know it yet. Or maybe some of us do know it.
That's my thing too. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, yeah, we definitely know it because, again, Dave is there for a good reason. And as Mike just read off with her, I mean, it's going to be fantastic for them to do that co-president thing.
Yeah, it's That's the thing, though, is like if you look at Dave Filoni, with this new title, looking at, oh, maybe we're sprinkling a little bit more with the Acolyte season 2 over here, or we're looking at, Ahsoka season 3, or the Filoni Endgame. Like there's so many different little things going on, or this new sequels animated series to, help enhance the sequels a little bit. All of these different things. It's nice how Dave, being the head and the CCO, he's able to poke his head in every room and be like, "Oh yeah, how's it going?" And he understands what's going on. Especially with dealing with the big wigs. Once again, I don't know what's going on, but that kind of gives me some anxiety, thinking like, "Oh, what's the big dog gonna think if I'm making this show that is centered around a woman lead, or a different character that could be super controversial to the Jedi Order." So many of those different things. It's nice to have someone like Dave to poke his head in the door and be like, "Oh yeah, this is going great," or "Hey, what if we tweak this a little bit to make sure that it aligns with Anakin's lineage?" Like something like that. So yeah, it's there really couldn't be anyone better than Dave, at least at the helm.
Well, it took 50 minutes and Brandon's first appearance on the stream, but we got an Acolyte mention. We did it. We did it.
Well, and that's my question. We can do that real quick. I'm sorry, Mike, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but it's going to be interesting to see what Dave brings to the table. And does anybody know what Dave thought of the Acolyte? Was there an opinion put out there from Dave about that?
He had some ideas with it, right?
Yeah, I don't know if he specifically said like, "Oh, it's a bummer that it got canceled" or something, but he had those like sit down with Leslie Headland and have a director on director conversation. Like he was promoting it at least before it came out.
So that's what I wonder. If do you think that now with him in charge and seeing that there is a little bit of a resurrection of the Acolyte, I think that we could get a season 2 in reference to this, or do you think they're just going to let it lie? There's enough other stuff coming out and it'll die off. We'll write some books, we'll put some comics and we'll answer some questions and be done with it.
Well, that's an interesting combination of things, because we've seen a couple comments in here that I think are interesting. Oddly enough, would you agree with me that a lot of people who were really against the Acolyte may also like Dave? Like, is there an irony there that like may also be into Dave? So do you think if he came out and was like, "Dude, go give it a second chance because we're making a second season," that it would kind of quell some of, I'm not saying all of, but it would quell some of the distrust for the Acolyte? Because as Derek points out a lot, the lead up marketing for it was rough. And if you had sort of the opposite thing where, I'm not convinced that all the Acolyte haters were anti-Filoni as well.
Right.
So if they felt, I don't know, led into it by him, could that help quell the sentiment? Because I think we all know the sentiment is like ridiculous. It's not actually, not actually from the show. It's from this like want to hate it. And maybe there was some stuff that didn't work in there for a lot of people, and that's fine. But
yeah,
I think it was this like built up years long mistrust for Lucasfilm that the only guy who could come in and save them is, their guy, Dave. And I feel like that could,
Yeah, no, to your point. I mean, I think for some, not all, of course, but for some, Dave saying, or even if he was going to make it, like, "I'm going to be the showrunner for season 2," like that would probably ease a lot of people's minds. But it would be a very bold statement to come out and be like, the first thing that he announces as president is this show. Like,
someday
that would be
Get him out of
groundbreaking.
here.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Another thing I realized while you guys were talking about him is that this is the first year, to my knowledge, that all of the things coming out have a heavy Dave Filoni fingerprint. We have Shadow Lord animation. Yeah, this year, in a year, right? Like Shadow Lord, something in the theater with a heavy Dave Filoni fingerprint, and then his own show. So it's kind of a litmus test on the year of, what to look forward to.
That's the thing. Like 2026 could go down as the greatest year of Star Wars, and Dave's off to a great start. Like that could be fantastic. The fact that they're starting with an animated show, I think, is the best bet, because your animated fans, I guess, aren't the normie fans, and for the most part, they're not the normie fans, the grifters, if you will. Those are the people who hate on Star Wars. The animated side of things isn't as mainstream. So even people making money off of hating on Star Wars, they don't even bother with the animated stuff because there's not enough audience. So I think to start with an animated show, and hopefully Maul is really, really good, it's their best bet, because the hardcore fans, the people who are going to stick around with Star Wars for the long run, they're going to see this and go, we're in good hands. Again, if it's good, which I think it will be, but we're in good hands, and this is Dave Filoni's kicking off point. And then here's the thing. I think if they didn't know that The Mandalorian and Grogu was going to be a massive success, if they didn't fully have faith in that, Kathleen wouldn't have stepped down until after the movie was released, because they want to kickstart Dave on the best spot possible. So if it was like going to be a crapper, or they even thought it was going to be a crapper, they would have kept Kathleen around for an extra 6 months, and then she would have hit that and then taken it in, and they would have given Dave a better starting off point with maybe Starfighter. But the fact that they're doing it with this year, with The Mandalorian and Grogu, just gives me even more hope and more, I guess, just faith that this movie is going to be incredible. It's going to be this huge blockbuster movie of the summer type thing, and they want to kickstart Dave off on the best possible note. So I agree with you. I think it's going to be the year of Dave, and they're going to ease us in with an animated show for the hardcore fans, and then they're going to just hopefully give us the movie of the summer with The Mandalorian and Grogu. A 1-2 punch.
It will
be.
It
will be. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's nothing else. Well, there's nothing else that's going to come out that's going to compete with it, but that was smart on everybody else's point. But yeah, like we've talked about before, just bringing those two characters to the big screen is going to crush for Disney and for Lucasfilm and Star Wars, because it's such a family friendly and fan friendly, movie that's going to be coming out. And that's where, like you said, that's where it's going to kick off, because not a lot of people are going to watch, not a lot, but more people are going to watch the movie, obviously, than the animated series on Disney Plus. Yes, we're all going to watch it. We're all excited about it. But like you said, Mike, that's his kickoff. Hey, they got a new president. Here's this new movie. He's part of it. So I think that's going to be fantastic for him, and continue to go on into Ahsoka and then everything else that's coming up next. And for him to keep going with everything that he's going to be adding to this is going to be fantastic for us as he continues to go along, because I think it's just going to continue to go, maybe not in the timeline that we want, but year after year after year, we have so many things coming out. And what did you say the other day, Mike? There's 15 or 17 movies that could be possibly in sort of, with some of these trilogies in a storyline or somewhere in development.
Yeah, so there's Kathleen Kennedy, when she had her exit interview, she gave an update on 12 different Star Wars movies, and she forgot about 2. So there's 14 that's in some different phase of development Star Wars movie. And the 2 that she forgot about were 2 that are likely to happen, which are the Rey movie and Dave Filoni's movie. Those were the 2 that she just didn't mention. To quickly name off the other 12, Mandalorian and Grogu, Starfighter, Simon Kinberg trilogy. So that's 3. The Hunt for Ben Solo, she gave an update on. Taika Waititi's movie, she said there's a script for. Yes, James Mangold. She said there's a script for James Mangold's movie, but it's on hold because probably James Mangold's busy. Lando movie has a script. Again, these movies have scripts fully turned in. And then the next 3 were more so in the conversation phase, and it was 3 specific directors that she brought up. David Fincher, who is probably most known for Seven or Zodiac. Vince Gilligan, who's most known for Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul, 2 of the greatest shows of all time, and now Pluribus. And then who was the last one? Oh, Alex Garland. who's probably most known for Ex Machina or 28 Days Later and 28 Years Later. So
Wow.
12 movies and 14 total.
And a lot of
If you
GOAT directors and writers.
Yeah.
Lots of them.
And if you're doing the math, one movie a year, that takes you to 2040. A year that sounds fake.
Yeah. Yeah. Hopefully I get to see all of them.
Oh, you will.
Yeah, you will.
What kind of talk is that?
At least from, clicking on the TV, and I won't be able to make it to the theater, or at least get my walker out. And that's what's so exciting about this, because all of those things I think are going to be, and very possibly will be, fantastic. When you're talking about, Glover, you're talking about Dave's doing a trilogy, all these other directors that you're talking about, Mike. I mean, all of these things are just going to be fantastic when we see where they're going to go to. That's going to be the interesting part. Are we going to go back? Are we going to get the old Republic from somebody? And if we do, who is that going to be? Like you talked about Taika Waititi, some of his stuff is fantastic, but some of it's like, okay, that was just a little bit over the top.
Yeah.
That's where we can circle right back around again to Dave. And I don't think you're going to get that from Dave. I think if it comes in too quirky or too over the top, Dave's going to be like, well, this is what we need to do to tone it down a little bit to make it Star Wars.
Yeah.
And I think that will help with Dave at the controls, because George would have done the same thing. And he did back in the day, where it was like, oh, okay, we're going to do this. And, no, we got to keep it here, because this is where the Star Wars journey has to stay on these tracks. We might deviate a little bit, but I think if we have some of these directors coming in and have some great stories, if they're off a little bit, Dave's going to keep them in line to be like, okay, we need to stay on the Star Wars track here, because then I think you might lose more fans. When Disney took over, you lost some fans and everybody wanted to hate on them. I think if you bring some of these other guys in here that are a little bit over the edge and you put them in a Star Wars director spot, that's where Dave's going to step in and be like, hey, listen, we need to keep it on the tracks here. So I'm really excited about Dave having that and continuing his story, because he's brought us all these new characters. He's brought us these shows, and hopefully we'll continue to just keep going and going for the next, till 2040.
Yeah. Well, for me, what you were just saying just completely made me think of this, Dave's involvement, because any director you bring in, as great as they will be, Dave will be on their shoulder, giving them the Star Wars lore and doing all that stuff. It reminds me so much of the MCU, because for years, Kevin Feige, who is now the CEO or the president, whatever, he was doing the X-Men movies. He was doing the old Fantastic Four movies as like a producer, as a lower man. And he wanted to throw in all of his ideas. He wanted the comic accurate stuff. He wanted to do this, that, the other, but he didn't have the power to do it. And then he gets control of the whole thing, the MCU, and he just gives fans exactly what they want, gives them comic accurate suits, gives them great stories. And I think that's what we have the opportunity here for Dave to do. Like, Dave has been waiting and patiently to tell his own stories and maybe even hopefully connect this whole thing together. But when you look at like the Heir to the Empire stuff, the post-sequel stuff, the Old Republic, you got to remember this is a guy who grew up in the as I guess an 80s and 90s Star Wars fan on Legends. That's why he brought characters like Thrawn and Rook and all these Legends characters to live action, because he loves those stories so much. That's why we're getting the Heir to the Empire in the first place. So I completely agree with you. I think having that guy in the ear of great directors is like a win-win. It's a combination for greatness.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, Austin said something about it's not, but it's not, it was done before, Dave got the job. Right. And we all know that, but people don't know that. The normie fans don't know that. They're going to look at the Mandalorian and Grogu movie as a kickoff to this new guy, Dave Filoni, who they've maybe heard about or whatever. And that's where he's going to have a big send off or a big grand grand opening with this movie. So I think you're right in that, whether it's been done or not, or it's already finished and he wasn't president when it came to fruition, it doesn't matter, because when it comes out, he is going to be president. And I think that's gonna help with that. And another thing, what you were saying, is connecting everything. And I think that's a big thing that Dave will have. And I think Kathleen did too, because again, there's still so much stuff that has to be connected to the Star Wars universe. And if you get that wrong, these fans will bite your head off. Again, the whole,
or if you do it too well.
Yeah. But the whole thing, if you don't have it, like having whatever his name is, Haldo,
Pablo Hidalgo.
Yeah, Pablo. That's it. I was trying to start it with an H, but having Pablo there with, is like with Dave. Dave knows what he wants and he knows that timeline, and it has to be connected. So when he's looking over the shoulder of these people going, oh, okay, that's really cool, but that's what we need to switch this to that, or that character needs to be a male character or a female character, whatever the case may be. Just like with the Maul series, we're all hoping his apprentice shows up, and it has to stick to that type of thing, because if you go away from that, even though I guess it's technically still Legends, correct, Mike?
Yeah, Talon is a fully Legends character. But there goes Ron.
Deuces.
He's still
Ron
here.
Was like, Mike, shut up. He's like, right, Mike? Okay, bye.
I can hear Ron. There he is.
There.
I was alluding to something earlier before Brandon and Mike, you guys got on, about Mandalorian and Grogu. That, again, I'm just pushing back a little bit, just for healthy conversation. No. Yeah, just for healthy conversation.
Yeah.
This has nothing to do with how the movie is going to be or anything. It's kind of shocking to me, honestly, for what's supposed to be a blockbuster movie to not have really that much marketing from Lucasfilm and Disney now that we're in late January and the movie's in May.
Yeah.
The last time that happened, it was forced in this situation because Last Jedi came out in December of 2017, ran in theaters for a while. Solo came out in May of 2018, had a couple of months of runway for marketing, and that was it. Yeah. And to me, they're not behaving like they're anticipating a blockbuster hit. I think their typical behavior with releasing a blockbuster film is a lot in advance, big buildup. We don't even have, do we even have merchandise for it yet?
Not really, no.
So I've said this before. I do think it's going to be big. I don't think that the goal for the movie is to make sorry, almost cussed. I almost broke our time limit here. I don't think the goal of this movie is to dominate the box office. I think the goal of the movie is to get back into it. And I think the goal of the movie is to set up Star Wars regularly being back in the theaters, and to also set up more Filoni movies, maybe a potential Heir to the Empire thing. Because just their behavior on marketing it, on warming up for it, just seems odd to me compared to the past. And I know when it happened with Solo, they were that was bad timing. And obviously we had a little bit of a fissure in the fan base right before, and there might have been some theater fatigue for two Star Wars 5 months apart. But I don't know. It doesn't speak to me that the expectation or the goal is to bust records. I think it's to get back into the game, and maybe even to test this new landscape of movie-going experience. The movie-going experience since the last time they were in the theaters is completely different. 2019 to now is a very different landscape, especially now how prolific they are with their streaming from then to now is totally different. So I'm not saying it's not going to do well. I'm not saying it's not going to be great. I'm just saying I think, I don't know. I think it's just not teed up the same way a saga blockbuster film has been. I don't think it's going to outdo Force Awakens. I don't think it's going to outdo, any of those. But I think it'll be big. I think it'll be huge. I'm just shocked there's not even, I'm shocked the merch is in Brazil, as Max Rebo said. I can't go to Target and find Mando and Grogu stuff, but if you go to Brazil, you can find it. Like that's bizarre to me. So
I agree to an extent. I think at least the year in advance advertising and stuff has been just non-existent. I thought we'd get a trailer at Star Wars Celebration. We didn't get it until like September. So yeah, I agree with you that last year and even into this year now, it's been slow. I will say, I guess to combat that the big rumor now is that we're getting a trailer at the Super Bowl. And I think that can be the catalyst for Super Bowls in early February, from early February until May, because that's still 3.5 months, give or take. So you're still talking about a ton of marketing for that movie. And as we all know, Lucasfilm is very good, or Disney is very good at marketing these movies. Even the sequel trilogy, like the marketing for The Last Jedi and The Rise of Skywalker was so good. So they're really good at that. And we just watched a teaser for Maul Shadow Lord today that was incredible. So they're really good at marketing these movies. I agree with you that the length of marketing has been very, very little, and it's going to be very short leading up to the movie. But that could be a reason or a problem with Disney, because Disney's been talking about like step backs, cutbacks with all the budgeting and all this stuff. So that could be a side to it where the budget actually for advertising is lower for this movie, which would be a disaster, of course.
That's the point of like, they might be testing this new landscape. Like this might be the way that it's done now, because even like one of the biggest movies of the last couple of years, Dune 2, that was a relatively short runway. It was huge for very quickly, might
There's
be
also
the new landscape.
It might be, because there's also a lot of Disney movies. They just came off the backs of Zootopia 2 and Avatar. So maybe they were like, why would we hype up Mandalorian and Grogu with these other movies? However, they kind of did, because there was no publicly released trailers. But if you went to go see Zootopia 2 or Avatar in select theaters, you could see a Mando trailer, a new one. So they were doing that aspect of it, I suppose. But as you mentioned, Disney might just be keeping it shorter because they have so many movies coming out over the course of this next year. Yes, The Mandalorian and Grogu comes out in May, but in June is Toy Story 5. In July is Spider-Man, which is MCU and Sony, but still it's partially Disney. So they do have a couple big movies. Both of the last 2 Toy Story movies made $1 billion. All 3 of the last Spider-Man Tom Holland movies made $1 billion. And now you're talking about 4 of the last 5 Star Wars movies have made $1 billion. So they could go $1 billion in May, $1 billion in June, and $1 billion in July if all goes to plan.
That would be nuts. Oh my
3?
God.
I mean, they had 3 last year. They had Lilo and Stitch. They had Zootopia 2. And they had Avatar.
I misinterpreted. I thought you meant Mando and Grogu making $1
billion.
Oh,
no. 3 billion's crazy.
Yeah.
2.
What I'm really hoping for, and I'm going to sign off because I got to get my kid to bed. But what is so crazy is I have that same idea, Nick, is that there's not enough being pushed, I feel like, especially for Mando and Grogu. Grogu alone, because, neighbor Gladys across the street, she doesn't know how the Death Star was created, but she knows who Baby Yoda is.
Yeah.
So she's probably going to go see the movie regardless.
Absolutely.
But I really, really think that at the Super Bowl, if they do show a new trailer, I feel like now, since Avatar has been out been in the theaters now, and what was it, Zootopia? You said, Mike?
Yeah,
like those have been the biggest spotlight for Disney right now, and like movies. I think this is where you get that. We're in the final stretch right here. In the next couple months, April to May. Now it's like, now everyone knows that there's a Mando and Grogu trailer, and especially if it's a new one with more scenes and a little bit of dialogue, that's gonna get everyone ramped up. But yeah, it is very weird how sometimes they don't go like full throttle with the marketing, but they still end up doing successful at the same time. It's kind of weird, but I get it though.
Yep. Well, thank you, sir. We appreciate you coming on here. Brandon, make sure you guys check his podcast and all his social media out, Clan Brandalorian. And we got a new interview with him on Star Wars Jedi Chat. So thanks, brother. We will have you on soon again. And have a good night.
Yep.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Brandon.
guys. Good to see all you guys. Nick, nice to meet you.
Nice to
Mike,
meet you, Brandon.
good to see you. Ron, good to see you. And
Thanks,
everyone
brother.
in the chat, have a good rest of your night. Finish
Bye,
out the
buddy.
stream, all right?
All right. See you, brother.
All right.
All right. See ya.
Thank you, guys.
You got it.
Yeah, I mean, he brings up a great point of all this short marketing. While he was talking, remember something as I was watching football last weekend, and I watched a lot of football last weekend. I kept seeing ads over and over and over again, and maybe you guys saw the same thing for this new Pixar movie, Hopper. And
Yeah.
I was like, what the hell even is this? It's a new idea, which Pixar, round of applause for you. I mean, you haven't made a new idea in a long time. Pixar, it looks good. Like, I mean, it looks fun. Like, Pixar has been always about just great new franchises, from Incredibles to Cars to Ratatouille to Up to Toy Story, of course, and whatever. But recently it's been all sequels. And now this is a new movie. So I had to look up, well, when is it coming out? Because we're getting pushed insane amount of marketing. And it says March 6th. So that's still in about 2 months.
Yeah.
And they're pushing that hard. So I assume the Mandalorian push is going to be Super Bowl and on. But specifically, once Disney, because Disney owns Pixar, is done marketing this Hooper movie or whatever, it's going to be full throttle Mandalorian and Grogu. They got nothing else.
Mhm.
So I certainly hope they get the budget for that.
Do you guys or anybody in the chat remember how many trailers we got for any of the sequels?
How many? I don't know.
Like,
I
did
know
we get
when we
1 or
got 'em.
2, or did we get like 4 or 5?
There's a ton of TV spots, like the short minute ones.
Yeah.
But they're all mostly the same scenes, just like edited differently.
Right. Or one more scene added, so it looks like it's a
Yeah.
whole new thing with one extra scene.
I
And I
can
think
tell
with
you,
social media, we're going to get a lot more stuff too. You'll get a lot more of the vertical, things on TikTok and Instagram and things like that, where we're, like you said, like we're going to get a minute or we're going to get 30 seconds of something in that little frame. But I think I would say we would probably get, so we have one already. I guess we can consider that first one already the first trailer, but I would guess that we'll probably get 2 more. But I think the third one will probably be a combination, like I said, of probably all 3 of them plus maybe one extra scene.
yeah.
They'll add something in there. But like Brandon was saying, and I've said this before, these people that love Baby Yoda are going to go see this movie that have no idea what's going on in the Star Wars universe. Don't know what the Death Star is. They've heard of Darth Vader or whatever, but they want to go see this little Baby Yoda and this cowboy guy, that's, a space cowboy. And I think that's what's going to, help them out for sure to do this. And as we've been talking about the whole time, I think that, Dave being in there is going to continue to help this, possibly be a trilogy. Do you think that might happen now that Dave's in there?
So I think this is number 1 of a trilogy, in my opinion. But to answer your question about trailers, because Austin and I were trailer hunters in sequel time, there was always a teaser like a year or a little less in advance. Like a long time out, there'd be a teaser. The longest time was like 15 months before The Force Awakens was the teaser trailer, no dialogue, just minute and a half, ends with the Falcon swooping around. Hype beast video. I think The Last Jedi was inside a year, but like still a long way for the first teaser. But then it was typically like one big first real trailer. And then, third, I would say third trailer, Max Rebo. That's where they really give it away. There was like always one big first trailer. And for The Force Awakens, and I think The Last Jedi as well, they would play that during a football game, like at halftime of Monday Night Football, and they make a big deal of it. So at some point in the fall, leading into that December, then they would show like a full trailer that has dialogue that actually gives you something about the movie. I think we've both talked about this Mando and Grogu trailer. Didn't really give us anything about the movie other than stuff and kind of maybe an idea that they're being hunted again. And then you're good for like a third one or a second like full trailer that's a little different. But like you said, it might be some recycled stuff. And then everything after that is just recycled or TV spots. And every like Star Wars news outlet on Twitter updates you on like new TV spot, one frame is different, new thing, like then it gets harder to come by. And you kind of know at that point, like this is it until we see the movie.
Yeah. No, I completely agree with you. That's why I think the Super Bowl trailer will be so important, because it'll give us some semblance of a plot. As you just mentioned, the first trailer gave us nothing. I mean, it gave us a lot, but it gave us nothing in terms of the plot. And that's really what we're looking for. And to answer Max Rebo's comment of will he die in the trailer? No, but they could allude to it. They could tease it. Like imagine there's just a final shot of the trailer where it's like Din Djarin's helmet hitting the ground or like rattling around hitting the ground, and it's sort of the question going into the movie of will he die? Because that is a thing they can play with. This character has had so much screen time, 3 seasons. It's been around for a while. He means so much to Grogu. Obviously, they're not going to kill Grogu, but they can toy with fans' emotions. Even if they aren't going to kill him, just toy with him in the trailer a little bit, which I wouldn't be opposed to. But yeah, I mean, I
want to know who agrees with Mike in the chat. If you agree with Mike, I'm going to steal your little 1s and 2s. If you agree with Mike, I want you to put a 1 in there, and you think Din Djarin is going to die sometime in this movie. Put a 1 in the chat, and put a 2 if you think not. And I think that would be interesting. I'm 50-50 on it. I think I totally agree with everything that you're saying about it. But I also feel like it would be a tough for the first movie for him to come out. But like you just said, he's got a lot of time. He's got a lot of screen time. He's had 3 seasons worth of it. And what's going to happen? Is he gonna die at the end? Which I think could be good for it, because I think if this is gonna be a trilogy and you're gonna build it up and you're gonna bring Thrawn in as the bad guy and we're gonna take the whole Mandoverse and bring all of these shows together, then that could be a good possibility to, like you said, all his friends and people he's fought beside and whatever are coming in and just now they want to kick Thrawn's ass because he killed Din Djarin in this or somebody that somehow that's what happened. But I also feel like that could happen in the second movie. But like you've said before, if we have these trilogies, the trilogies come out and guess what? Ben Kenobi dies. Han Solo dies.
Qui-Gon Jinn dies.
Yeah.
Yep.
So it's interesting.
Ryan, sorry, I was reading this thing. Ron, what was number 1 and what was number 2?
Number 1 is you agree with Mike that Din Djarin's going to die in this movie. So
there we go.
So
put a 1 up there. I know there's a bunch of people on here. I want to see.
I see a couple 1s. I see a couple 1s. No. So my thing with the whole Din Djarin dying, as Ron just mentioned, the beginning of a new trilogy starts with a character dying, a big character dying. So it would also be on par with that. But think about it this way. The third season, all 3 seasons of The Mandalorian is pretty much Din versus Moff Gideon. Not really Din versus the Empire. Season 1, episode 1, he doesn't give 2 flying, things about the Empire. He doesn't care at all. He's a bounty hunter. Who cares? It's not until he gets this attachment to Grogu and the Empire wants Grogu that he then begins to fight the Empire, meets Moff Gideon, has this whole thing. But now Moff Gideon's dead. So why does he care? He's working with the New Republic, but, he doesn't have this raging animosity against the Empire, at least not yet. If they attack Navarro and kill Grief Karga, that'll definitely make him angry. But in terms of Grogu's hatred and people like Bo-Katan has zero interest right now in fighting the Empire. None. She has to rebuild her own home world way before she cares about the New Republic or the Empire. No care in the world. Boba Fett, he just claimed Tatooine. He's got to deal with a whole lot of other stuff, Pikes and all these other syndicates and all that, way before the Empire. So what draws these people that we've watched on Disney Plus for the last 6 years? What draws these people to fighting Thrawn? Because right now there's not much. So Din Djarin's death would be a big part of that. It would draw all these people to their old friend's aid and Grogu's aid to fight this big blue meanie. But that would entail that Thrawn is in the movie, and Thrawn's the reason that Din Djarin dies.
And that's what I was going to say next, because it's going to be interesting because we know we're going to see him in Ahsoka, obviously, and we have an idea of what's sort of going to happen on Dathomir, but again, we don't know what's going to happen after, all these Night Sisters, possibly come back to life along with these troopers that he has. So he's going to have to build that up, and that's going to happen in Ahsoka. So I think that it's going to be interesting, and that's why I'm sort of 50-50 on it, because I think it could be a good thing for that to happen. Not that I want it to, but it could be. But I also think that we have to wait until Thrawn gets brought into this, and I think that maybe at the end of Ahsoka we do see something like that happening, where maybe we get somebody, maybe we get a somebody from Mandalorian at the end of Thrawn to sort of tie them together, and then the next movie, Din is gone, because there could be another person that dies that's a decent sized character as well, because obviously
yes,
Mandalorian and Grogu are number 1 and number 2, and we can debate all day long who's number 1 and who's number 2, but there could be another one, like you said, Bo-Katan, somebody else that could die as well.
Well, the perfect person for that is Boba Fett. Boba Fett has been around since the 80s. Normie fans know him. Hardcore fans love him. Everybody who's an original trilogy fan knows him. Who's a Clone Wars fan knows him. He is the most recognizable face that you can put on the screen, other than Grogu, I guess, in this Mandoverse. And he would be a great character to, by the end of the trilogy, make the ultimate sacrifice, because he was once a bounty hunter. He was once a bad guy. He was a villain of the Empire, villain of Jedi, and then he comes back to life. He has that whole back to life. He comes out of the Sarlacc pit. He becomes a family man with the Tuskens. All the Tuskens get slaughtered. He has this whole great arc back to the light, where he now helps people and helps take down Thrawn, hopefully. And now the whole turntables have been flipped. However, his death, I would think, would happen way later in the story, like episode 3 of a trilogy. You need a catalyst death, I think.
Yeah.
And don't even get me started. I think Harrison Dule is going to die in Ahsoka season 2. I'm just crazy like that, okay?
I'm with you on that.
Yeah.
When you said Boba Fett dying, I was that made my heart sink.
Yeah,
like
he dies in 83.
I know, but he's such for me, he's such a core character. It's like Chewbacca. When I saw, what was it, the second one, when they think he dies in the ship that blows up, Rise, I was just like, are you kidding me?
She does it with the Force lightning. That's a great scene.
It's amazing, and again, we're all watching, especially the first time we're all watching it, we're not paying attention to the other ship that's going up with it, or that we know that there's 2 of them down there. We all think, holy shit, Chewbacca just died, and I was like, this is crazy. You killed off Han already, and now you're killing Chewbacca. So when you said that about Boba Fett, I was just like, ooh, wait a minute, he's from my childhood, he can't die. But
well, speaking of Han,
that's good. Yeah,
I might flip your take, Mike. I put a 1 down. I do think it would work to kill Din Djarin in this movie. I'm with you. I think we haven't, other than Andor. I mean, Andor kind of is its own thing. I don't think we've had enough loss for the good guys in a while.
None.
And I think Boba Fett would be a better catalyst to me, though. The same way that Han is a better catalyst, you know, globally
Yes.
renowned character
Yeah.
that goes in like a somewhat meaningful way.
But
it-
Din Djarin is globally renowned now too.
Yeah, but I feel like for the same description you gave Boba Fett, I feel
Yeah.
like Han Solo has an even more bona fide resume, and is a major catalyst death to like the entire audience saying screw Kylo Ren. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like I'm rooting against him in the next movie because he's the intent, and then kind of wrap it around a little bit. So I think Boba Fett
Yeah.
is like Ron just said, man, we just mentioned the death of Boba Fett and we just hurt Ron's feelings. You know,
True.
imagine if he saw it on screen again.
Yeah.
And
But there's one issue with that though, and it's the quote unquote normie fans. They don't even know Boba's alive.
right.
They think he died in the Sarlacc pit 40 years ago, 43 years ago. So it would be almost a tease to bring in Boba Fett in the first movie back and then kill him off again right away. Din Djarin would be different because even normie fans who don't know him wouldn't have already known that he had a near-death experience before. That's why I think a whole trilogy would actually give those fans sort of a redemption arc for Boba Fett and get badass Boba. People have been begging for a while now, and Tamara Morrison and all that too.
I think I'm going to disagree with my man Austin too on this take.
Oh, I completely, I disagree.
I think Pedro Pascal is over it. If any of the rumors are true,
He's been a voice actor for the last like 6 years. Like he hasn't been on set. He hasn't been the character since season 2, and that was in 2020, 6 years ago.
Yeah. So I think they would do it. If nothing else, to be like, shoot, the last thing we're going to get out of Pedro Pascal is a movie. So we only got him for one more thing. Let's make it a movie.
And Disney still has him. He's Reed Richards in the MCU.
Yeah.
So it's not like he's going away from Disney specifically. They'll still have him under contract and everything. But in terms of Din Djarin, like Nick just said, he's been done with it for a while. Since he doesn't get to show his face, he's just a voice actor. And you got guys like Brandon Wayne, who's under the mask, who's doing all the actual motion and stuff, that are just as big a role as Din Djarin as Pedro Pascal is. So now you have to ask the question of, are you going to be paying Pedro Pascal millions upon millions of dollars just to be a voice actor?
Well, and I wonder if, you can have a contract there where you can take his, voice just like they did with Darth Vader now, now that James Earl Jones is gone, and say, okay, well, we're going to use your voice, in this. We own that. For the most part. I'm sure he'll get a nice little chunk of change, but I think even if you have if you kill off Din Djarin and you have a trilogy, you're still going to have some flashbacks or some voices from Pedro Pascal in the next two movies. It might not be some conversation. He's obviously not going to be a Force ghost or anything like that, but you're still going to have some, I would think, or, and maybe they'll just use some stuff from The Mandalorian and, capture some sayings that he said, or when he talked to Grogu about something. But I think that you could use that as well. If they do get rid of him, you can either use the AI stuff that they have, or, have some flashbacks for future movies.
I'm not sure they would use the AI, but I do think they would have him just come back and read the lines as and not have to pay him lead role money, for not being on the screen.
Right.
I'm sure they didn't pay Harrison Ford's scale for being in one scene of Rise.
Yeah.
I'm sure he made a good.
Yeah.
Made good on that, but I also don't know, like, I don't know what that does. Like, are we talking? We didn't get on to Ron's question about a trilogy. So are we talking, if this is the trilogy, would the next movies kind of like deviate from strictly The Mandalorian and be more the Mandoverse stuff, Heir to the Empire stuff? Like I was saying?
I think so. Yeah. Because if you look at it this way, if it's gonna be Star Wars, The Mandalorian and Grogu, like The Mandalorian and Grogu is just the title of the movie, like Revenge of the Sith or Attack of the Clones or whatever. If that's just the title of the movie, it's a Star Wars movie, but the title is The Mandalorian and Grogu, then the next movie does not have to be The Mandalorian and Grogu 2.
Right.
That's never happened in Star Wars. That's not how it works. So it could be anything else. I don't know how they'll number it because we like numbers in Star Wars, but I think, yeah, it doesn't have to be anything to do with the Mandalorian. I think Grogu, and if Din Djarin does survive, they'll be in the next movie, but they don't have to be the main leads. It can be called anything, just like the Phantom Menace is, I guess, in reference to Palpatine, who's in the whole trilogy, but Qui-Gon's there, Maul's there, characters who just aren't in the entire trilogy because they die. Or
Watto.
Watto, yeah. A lot of characters who aren't in the rest of the trilogy. So it doesn't have to be, because we call it a Mando trilogy, revolving around the Mandalorian himself, Din Djarin.
Yeah, I agree with you, but I think it'll be interesting because like you said, everybody likes numbers. What are they going to do with this? They can't be, 10, 11, 12, because they're not after the sequels. So you're not going to be, 5.6, 6.6 and 7, you're not doing anything like that. So it'll be interesting to see if this is a new era that we're going to get into with Star Wars, with Dave taking over now, like we've talked about, and you have a trilogy, and we don't know if it's Star Wars yet, right? We don't know if it's Star Wars, Mandalorian, and Grogu, or a Star Wars story.
I think it is.
I think it is Star Wars, The Mandalorian, and Grogu. Let me see.
Yeah, I think that's how it is. They also kind of went out of their way to, even when it's like on TV, they don't say episode, number anymore. It's just Star Wars, the name.
The Force
Awakens. Or even on Disney Plus, there's no, I don't know if it maybe on Disney Plus, but I know when it's like on television, it's just that.
That is the big question, though, because inevitably we're going to get another trilogy.
Right.
Whether that trilogy is in the Mandoverse or post sequels or wherever, is it going to be episode 10, 11, 12? Or is it going to be episode 1? And we're just going to have 2 episode 1s? Or is it going to be part 1 or chapter 1 or something else? Like,
I think it would be like, in terms of titling and advertising, it'd be Star Wars, whatever it is. And then if it's like considered another saga film, on the crawl, it'll say episode 10, and that'd be, kind of like they function now. If you're going to go watch The Phantom Menace, you don't search episode 1. It's probably keyed into the metadata on it that it'll pop up, but it's no longer the title,
Yeah, I get that. And I did look it up on StarWars.com. It does say Star Wars. And then, the what is that called? The semicolon?
Colon. A whole colon.
A full an entire colon. Star Wars, entire colon, The Mandalorian and Grogu. So it is a Star Wars movie, not a Star Wars story like Rogue One and Solo were.
Do you think we'll get a scroll?
I think we'll get one like the beginning of Ahsoka.
Interesting. I actually think we'll get a full proper one. You have to explain where we are in the timeline and all that greatness. But correct me if I'm wrong, Solo and Rogue One don't have anything.
Solo does.
Solo, yeah.
It doesn't have a scroll, but it has, this is the time.
Oh, yeah.
Where they're at and what he's like, what's that beast that he's working for?
Yeah.
So yeah, there was just, and I think that's what they'll do. I don't think there'll be a scroll for this. I think it'll be, because again, a lot of people are coming in already knowing a lot of Mandalorian and Grogu, like we've talked about. This is a prime time, started during COVID type of thing where people know what the Mandalorian and Grogu is. We've built this character up, so we don't have to have a huge scroll to be like, oh, Mandalorian and Grogu have been sitting over here, with their feet up, and now they work for the rebellion, this and that. I think it'll be a, Proxima. Thank you. I think it'll be just that couple lines of what's going on, and maybe hey, they've been off doing, working for Teva, doing some stuff or whatever. I don't think it'll be a full scroll because, again, I think have we had a scroll besides the 9?
Well, does the Ahsoka red? The Ahsoka's in red, right? The opening information.
Yeah, it doesn't go
Doesn't
like
roll.
up the screen. No.
Yeah. So what I've noticed also for the Saga film scroll, in most cases, some of them not, the first paragraph is like very generally what's going on broadly.
Yeah.
And then the rest of it is what is happening right now. Like what scene are you coming into?
Yeah.
So if I can recall Revenge of the Sith, it's a paragraph that the Clone Wars are happening and it's confusing. And then telling you what exactly just happened and that 2 Jedi Knights are going on a desperate mission to save the Chancellor. And it doesn't say like Clone Wars are ending. This is what's going on with the Jedi. This is what's going on, And I think they give you just enough to be like, broadly, things are weird, but right now, this bounty hunter and his son are kicking ass. And that's what and then we go into it. And then you kind of build from there. I don't recall, does Rogue One have anything? Or does it just start in the flashback?
Yeah, it starts with Galen on his farm.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let me here's the thing. Solo and Rogue One are both a Star Wars story. Correct. This being Star Wars, like an actual saga film, just pure. All we have is the information of that. Star Wars, The Mandalorian, and Grogu. That's what differentiates this spin-off movie from those other two. Let's dream for a second. Everybody close your eyes. Everybody close your eyes. Let's dream for a second. You sit down at the theater, you see the Lucasfilm logo go across. It's silent. It's really quiet, really quiet. Then it goes ba 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 ba. The iconic opening crawl, Star Wars goes across the screen. It's not just, okay, Star Wars is back in theaters. This is Star Wars is back in theaters. We get an opening crawl, Din and Grogu. They've had this great adventure, blah, 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 broad strokes, these two characters, who they are, whatever. And then the opening scene is, now we find our heroes in this crazy battle. Navarro's under attack. Their homeworld's under attack by the evil Galactic Empire, or the remnant of the Empire, with Imperial warlords, blah, 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 blah. And here we go. And it pans down to Navarro with this insane opening fight scene for the planet. Grief Karga dies in this huge catalyst right into it. It's almost like a Revenge of the Sith level opening, where this is your first time back in theaters in 6 years. You got to go as hard as you possibly can. I know we're talking about them maybe wanting to ease in or whatever. No, this is going to be the action-packed Din and Grogu adventure that's a Star Wars movie. Not a Star Wars story, a Star Wars movie. So just based off of that logic of it not being a Star Wars story and it being an actual Star Wars movie, that it should have a crawl. Why not? Are we just going to go away from the crawl forever?
I agree with you. That made me think a lot about that, and I think you could be right. Because they're coming back in. We got to do let's do the whole Star Wars thing. Let's do the John Williams music. Let's do the scroll. Let's bring people back to the, all three of the other trilogies, which I love and I hope they would do. But it's going to be interesting to see, because I don't, like you said, with the numbers, even if this is a trilogy, where does it fit? It fits in between 4, 5, and 6, and 7, 8, and 9, but you can't do, you can't number that, So I think that would be great. Because again, just when you saying that, goosebumps, just sitting there again, waiting the Lucas for the film things, and it fades, and then it's black, and then boom, the music starts, and here comes Star Wars, Mandalorian, and Grogu, and it gives you, the whole scroll. Or do they do something different? Now it's a change of regime again. We're into a whole new character for the most part. We're not, Luke isn't there, and Leia and Han aren't there, and Rey's not there. we're in a whole different spot. So are we just going to do maybe that whole announcement, that whole big fanfare and the music, but something just a little bit different of a scroll, maybe not the whole solo thing, but I agree with you. It's tough. It'll be interesting.
Yeah. Well, every time we talk about this, and before I just cut you off, every time we talk about this, somebody brings it up in the chat, and nobody has today, but I remembered it, so I wanted to look it up because somebody always says, "Oh, Kathleen Kennedy said that there will always be Krulls for now on." So I looked it up, and it's from this article is from 2023, April 2023. So that's probably around when Star Wars Celebration was, where she'd be getting interviewed. It says Lucasfilm President Kathleen Kennedy has put those words to rest. Hang on, let's see what those words were. Out of everything iconic with Star Wars, perhaps the most synonymous thing with the brand is the opening crawl. John Williams' classic theme in the wall of floating text, blah, blah, blah. All right. Lucasfilm President has put these... many have been wondering about the fate of the crawl, but those have been put to rest. In a new conversation with Entertainment Weekly, Kennedy was frank in stating that the crawl's coming back for the future for future Star Wars movies. She went on to say, simply, the crawl is for movies. Rogue One: A Star Wars Story is the only live-action film without a full crawl. Solo had a brief one, but Rogue One threw you right into the action. She previously said, blah, 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 blah. So Kathleen Kennedy in 2023 says, the crawl, hang on, what did I just say? The crawl's coming back for future Star Wars movies. So maybe every Star Wars movie moving forward will have a crawl.
No.
So let me throw something out.
It'll be interesting. Go ahead.
Go ahead. Austin made part of my point already that I was waiting on. But to clear up the Star Wars Story thing, I got a little brief history lesson. When they were slating out in like 2015, all the stuff they were going to do, and throughout, the mid 2010s of the Disney slate of movies, they were originally going to be called a Star Wars anthology. And it was at like the 11th hour that they changed it to Rogue One: A Star Wars Story after they redid Rogue One. And they were kind of not sold on a Star Wars Story thing. They were worried that Rogue One with a very casual audience would not indicate that it's a Star Wars movie.
Yeah.
It was the brand. Then I agree with Austin. I think Solo came out and got a bad rap on these like Star Wars Story things. Yeah. Because then the original plan and what it was written for was Obi-Wan Kenobi was supposed to be a movie. And it got broken up into a live action series. And that was kind of at least the talk of the town was you had these anthology films that were going to go in between. We're going to get Star Wars Forever. And they kind of, realigned to live action shows, which I think is for the better. But I think they're just done saying a Star Wars Story. I think that's just over. And I think now they're focusing on them being like movies and not giving it the feel that it's this side thing,
I will agree with you to an extent. I think, it not being a thing anymore, Andor season 2 came out last year, and they dubbed that Andor: A Star Wars Story, which I found extremely strange. Like season 1 wasn't a Star Wars story, but season 2 is, and maybe that's to connect it to Rogue One. I'm not too sure, but as you said before, people wouldn't know Rogue One is a Star Wars movie if it's just called Rogue One. Mm-hmm. But they didn't want to call it Star Wars Rogue One because then that would mean it's a part of the saga. It's a part of the episodic films.
It was competing with saga films in between.
Exactly. So it would throw people off. But they are calling this Star Wars: The Mandalorian and Grogu. They are going with that. They could have just dropped the whole Star Wars story in general, but they didn't. They put Star Wars in front of it. The confusion of it being an episodic film is no longer a problem. It's no longer a worry of Lucasfilm because maybe it is. Maybe it is the beginning of a trilogy. Maybe this is going to have an opening crawl and it's just going to be like every other Return of the Jedi, Last Jedi, Attack of the Clones, every other movie.
So what if I put some goosebumps on you again?
Let's do it.
That sounded weird. Sorry. But I'm going with it. So what if the crawl comes up, everything you just said, and like the saga films, instead of only seeing Mandalorian and Grogu, something like what Max Rebo suggested, Chapter 1, Heir to the Empire, or Episode 1 of Heir to the Empire, or like our first signal that it's a trilogy is in the crawl on top of the Mandalorian and Grogu.
That's how you break the internet. That's how you make $1 billion movie. If they don't market this at all as a trilogy, and they go opening crawl this is episode 1 of a trilogy, this is episode 1 of the Heir to the Empire, even, then mind's blown, the internet blows up, Star Wars is back. Like, people will be talking about that for months. Star Wars did it again. You're talking about the two guys, John and Dave, who blew people's minds with Grogu, with these exact two characters. Nobody knew that a baby Yoda was coming. They didn't market it. They didn't tell us. They didn't do anything to give any leaks. No, nothing. Nobody knew that a child version of Yoda was going to appear in The Mandalorian, in their kickstarting project on Disney Plus. It was this huge surprise, and it blew up. It made the show popular. It made Disney Plus popular. It gave us a movie 6 years later. That's how enormous that was as a surprise. If you're saying that they're going to do that exact thing with this movie, surprise the hell out of us, because right now we don't know anything about the movie. If they do that for another 4 months and the movie blows our freaking minds just from the beginning, from the rip, that would blow up everywhere. That would make Star Wars be back. It would make $1 billion. We would be talking about it forever. Like we talk about Grogu forever. That would be insane.
Oh, I agree with you. I think that would definitely blow people's minds.
Yeah.
Do we think that's a possibility?
I hope so.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, if Kathleen says 2 years ago that crawls are for movies moving forward, first of all, I believe her, even though she's not the president anymore. I'm sure that'll continue with Dave. It's what makes Star Wars great. It's why the Clone Wars opens with a war on Ryloth. Like, they need explanation for where you're at. Star Wars is so massive. It's so huge. People don't know what's going on. The normie fan doesn't know where we are. I watched The Mandalorian with my dad all the time, and he's like, where does this take place in the timeline? And without Luke showing up, you wouldn't know. You would have no idea for the normie fan. So you need at least a paragraph, if not 2, if not 3, to explain what the hell's going on here. Because anybody who just goes, oh, Star Wars is back in theaters, let me go check that out. I haven't seen a Star Wars movie since The Rise of Skywalker or whatever. And they sit down and they've never seen The Mandalorian. They'll be so lost. They won't even know what time it is in the time period. They will be completely, utterly just goo. They won't understand it. So there needs to be something.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
I think, Max, you're right. No matter what happens, people are going to be, this isn't the real Heir to the Empire,
Yeah.
If, and it'll be interesting if they do the trilogy and they name it that, what they're going to bring into it in the next 2 movies, because if you do this first movie, that's part 1 of a trilogy of Heir to the Empire, and it's about Mandalorian and Grogu, and then the next one, but then we get a little bit of Ahsoka afterwards, which you bring those characters into the second movie. Then the second movie and the third movie, how are they going to finagle around that? I mean, I think it'll be a great idea, but it will have to be obviously different than the book trilogy from the 80s that Timothy brought us. You're going to have some characters, but you can't do those 3 movies starting it out with this.
No,
it's just going to have to be the 3 movies are going to have to come in a little bit more into the second and third movie.
Yeah, and I mean, those characters aren't even possible at this point. Like, you can't have a trilogy about Luke, Leia, Han, Mara Jade, Lando versus Thrawn. Like, that's just not going to happen. It's never going to happen unless it's animated. But to that point that you were just bringing up, when you look at specifically, I guess, what John and Dave have done, their first installments of their projects, specifically The Mandalorian and Ahsoka, season 1s of each stories, the ends of those seasons, much like A New Hope, are like definitive endings to an extent. They leave some open-ended stuff, but there's a way that you could have Ahsoka season 1 just end. There'd be a lot of questions, but it could just end. And then same with Mando season 1. But they do tee up a lot more. So I think this movie will stay on that same trajectory. Season 1 of The Mandalorian ends. They escape. They win the day. But Moff Gideon cuts his way out of the TIE fighter with the Darksaber. And you're like, holy crap. And then Ahsoka season 1 ends, and Baylan Skoll's looking at a glimmer of light that's supposed to be the most powerful thing ever. That's supposed to end the struggle between good versus evil in the galaxy. So they are really, really good with their first installments of something, giving you just, I need more. So if this is going to continue in the movie theater, then this movie might end in a way bigger than Moff Gideon with the Darksaber, which was enormous. Because how the hell did he get the Darksaber? It could be bigger than that. If you're talking about kickstarting a trilogy, like Luke Skywalker on Ahch-To, like that big, huge type of people talking about it for the years to come.
Yeah.
Chewie's
All right,
dream
boys.
back here.
We're almost at 2 hours, so it always flies by. I know we could probably sit here and talk for another 2 hours, but Mike, it's late where Mike is, so
Yeah.
But thanks for coming on. I thought this was great. So excited tomorrow. Hopefully the trailer will drop before your stream.
Yeah.
Tomorrow here.
Oh, I think it will. It's usually like noon, so
okay. So you have a little bit of time.
I'm hoping to have a breakdown video completely done before my stream. I'm locked in for tomorrow. I'm ready.
Got everything all situated. Just plug in these.
Yeah, it's so great that they gave us the warning telling us that the teaser trailer is coming out tomorrow. It makes my life so much easier, but so much better because I'm not just sitting on the edge of my seat going, oh, are we going to get a trailer today? Nope. Are we going to get a trailer today? No, like just over and over and over again. So the fact that they did that and how cool it was, it's great.
Yep. So we will actually we'll go ahead and watch that one more time and then we'll call it a night. So thanks everybody for coming on. Appreciate you guys joining in. Look forward to Mike's podcast tomorrow, 2 p.m. Eastern time. Hopefully there will be a breakdown, and I'm sure we will see this trailer on there again tomorrow. But Nick, thanks for joining us again, and we will be back next Wednesday for Star Wars Jedi podcast, and I think Derek will be back, and hopefully everybody will be here. But y'all have a great week, and may the Force be with you.